see him every day on the other side, imitating me. In his red eyes, I can see that he is laughing at me and enjoying my misery. The day was cloudy. The entire sky was covered with low, hovering clouds that blocked the sun. The weather outside, however, was unbearably hot. Although the sun could not be seen, its rays illuminated the clouds, and the clouds themselves were like one-way traffic signals, allowing the sun's heat to enter but not leave. Down on the ground, the cement pavement radiated the heat back up, giving one the feeling of standing inside of an enormous oven. After the sun set, a hot wind blew like a breath between the buildings, as if the land itself were giving a sigh of relief. The clouds continued to cover the entire sky and were now dimly lit up by the lights from the city, appearing slightly red and almost sinister. At about 10 o'clock at night, the cloud began to sweat a heavy and sticky rain. I was alone in my apartment room on the internet, trying to find the company of my friends online, but nobody had signed on. Everybody had left for the weekend, such that the neighborhood felt deserted. After a while, I gave up and turned off the computer. I checked my watch. Almost midnight. I stood up from the desk, and at that point, I heard a sound coming from the mirror hanging on the wall. It sounded like a cracking. I approached the mirror and saw the strangest thing. It looked like the mirror was trying to twist me, as if it was trying to wring me. I extended my hand to touch the surface, thinking that maybe the heat had warped the glass, but surprisingly, it was cold to the touch, perfectly flat and smooth. As I examined my strange reflection, I could see the rain outside still falling. The reddish light spilled into the room, giving my skin a ruddy tone. For a moment, I had the uncomfortable feeling that the mirror was not my real reflection, but rather a window, and I was staring into the eyes of another man. A chill ran down my spine, and suddenly I felt like I wasn't alone in the room. I glanced around to make sure nobody else was there. My mind was playing tricks on me. I decided to go shower when I realized that I had no more clean clothing. I looked at the full laundry basket at the corner of the room, and with a sigh, decided that I would have to wash the laundry. As I parted from the mirror, I thought I noticed from the corner of my eyes a slight movement in the mirror that didn't match mine, but I decided to ignore it, as it was getting late and I was very tired and my mind was clearly playing tricks on me. I grabbed the laundry basket and took it downstairs to the laundry room at the side of the apartment building on the side. Thump, 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 thump. I surveyed the washers and dryers with my ears. The dryers were unused, but one of the 5 washers was running. The red Coca-Cola vending machine against one of the walls emitted a low hum. Its reddish light reflected off of a large wall-length mirror on one side of the laundry room, and together they gave the white walls of the room a hazy red tint. Thump, 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 thump. I inserted coins into 2 of the washers and began loading in my clothes, sorting between light colors and darks. Thump, 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 thump. What could it be? For a moment, I got the strangest feeling. I couldn't shake it, like I was being watched. Consequently, I nervously kept checking to my right and left to make sure that nobody was really there. Thump, 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 thump. What could it be? I stared at the used washer. Thump, thump, thump. Perhaps a dead body. Or an amputated head. Ah, my imagination. Finally, I decided to end the game and find out once and for all what was inside the machine. My courage, which started out valiant and heroic, evaporated with each step that I took toward the machine, until finally I stood next to it. Ever so slowly, I reached out a hand to open the lid. Thump, thump, thump. As I opened the lid, the machine automatically shut off. Slowly and nervously, I leaned over to peer inside the washing machine. And inside, I saw a wet mass of clothing still clinging to the sides of the spin cycle. There. Nothing unusual, as expected. I closed the lid, and the machine automatically restarted. I stood there and waited for a few seconds. But oddly, there was no longer the sound of thumping coming from within. At that moment, a figure arose from the area behind the machine. I looked over to see the face of myself, except the face was slightly twisted. My heart froze for a moment, and then it began to beat at hyperspeed as the figure climbed onto the washer. I jumped back, and he jumped off the washer a few feet in front of me. As the figure approached, I took a step backwards. This continued for several steps, until I realized that I had come against the wall, and my back was against the mirror. I stopped, and he stopped. The look on his distorted face was smug, but worst of all were his brilliant red eyes, which glowed in eerie red as if he was born out of a photograph, with permanent red eye from the camouflage. The two of us stood there, immobile, neither of us moving, when suddenly he shoved me. I fell back and unexpectedly passed right through the wall. At that moment, my mind realized that something very wrong had occurred. I got up and reached out my hand, but it bumped against the glass of the mirror. The clone on the other side imitated me, putting out his hand on the other side. I began to panic. I pushed and shoved and pounded, but it was no effect, not even a sound. I opened my mouth to yell and scream for help, but nothing came out. And then, abruptly, the clone turned around, grabbed the laundry basket, and left the room. Upstairs, I saw him enter my bedroom and take a seat at my desk. As he glanced at me, I glanced at him. I could see his glowing red eyes were laughing at me, enjoying my misery. Madam Toastmaster.